Restaurants are thriving right now on cheap gasoline. Denny's goes higher. I would not sell Denny's. Call me a buy of that chain.
My stock is BOX Fox.
I think Fox is fine. It's long term, man. I know who leisure fears. No one.
Today, we are going to look at the massive changes coming to trade with Stellaris 4.0. Not only is trade being made a regular resource, so habitability will affect its output, but it is also going to be required for two types of logistical upkeep, one of which is fleets. Going forwards, fleets will have a trade upkeep that all empires, including Gestalts, will be forced to pay, and on top of that, we're also getting some big changes coming to branch offices and criminal syndicates, and a special surprise from the developers. Without any further ado then, let's dive in. The trade system introduced in Stellaris 2.2 Le Guin, which is now many years ago, was raised as an especially frequent point of confusion for many players, both old and new. UX issues around disconnected trade stations, combined with some quirks of being a modifier-based system, like ignoring habitability on planets, made some of it very, very unintuitive. The system had a major impact on performance as well, especially in the late game with larger galaxies and larger empires. So while examining Stellaris for optimizations, the developers decided that they wanted to revamp this system for 4.0. In 4.0, trade will now become a standard advanced resource, generally produced in the same way as before, but it will follow all of the standard rules around resource producing jobs. This, of course, means one of the major benefits of a trade-based strategy will now be entirely dead. You cannot, using trade, inhabit worlds, colonized worlds that are very low habitability, yet still get maximum output. You'll now get reductions scaled by the habitability of those planets. The trade route systems has also been entirely removed. So this means you will no longer have to remember to go into the trade map mode and reconnect all of those star bases after conquest, after you've claimed and conquered them. And on top of that, this will also of course be removing the lag issue from the game constantly computing which is the optimum trade path to get from starbase A to starbase B. Any produced trade will be immediately collected like any other normal resource. In fact, that's not quite true though, because as we're about to see in a moment, trade is exempt from something that is going to be called logistical upkeep. So let's find out about this new logistical upkeep. Grunts at Work is now going to take over from Eladrin to talk about what is going on. So, Eladrin's UI wizardry is out the way, they are stepping in to reveal these new trade secrets. The majority of our trade upkeep will come from two sources in the new system. First, each local planet which has a deficit will then carry a small trade upkeep. A fraction of the missing resources value on the galactic market will be the upkeep required on that planet. This is going to mean, going forwards, having highly optimized worlds that produce just one thing will come with a trade upkeep deficit. We don't yet know if this will mean that having individual worlds assigned to just one resource without other things is going to be a kind of dead strategy going forwards, because we haven't had a chance to play with these values in the game. I suspect it won't, but this should actually help players that aren't optimizing in this way, having, for example, one world all about minerals, one world devoted to consumer goods, another to science, another to unity, with everything else at a deficit because it's not being produced locally. That strategy will be less viable, less efficient, and this means having more balanced planets won't be as inefficient as it has previously been in the past. Bringing the newer players who are less concerned about optimizing their worlds and just trying to make sure their empire is working up in the game and pulling down the meta playstyles just a little bit. This trade deficit represents the logistical effort required to commandeer freighters to supply a world that is not self-sufficient, and therefore requires resources to be transported in from off-world. Mind you, this will occur in addition to normal deficits, if your entire empire is not capable of supplying those needs either. So there is going to be quite a lot going on here. In short, your planets will either satisfy their own local needs, or require trade to offset the logistics cost. So clerks may be a bit more useful on these planets going forwards. The second major trade upkeep will be coming from fleets. This is going to be a very big change that is going to have, I believe, massive impacts overall on the game. Any fleets currently docked at one of your star bases have no trade upkeep. So if you have a fleet at home, there is no trade cost for that fleet. However, once your fleets start to move, they will gain a small trade upkeep representing the logistical efforts required to support them. This small upkeep will increase if your fleets are in hostile territory. That is territory owned by another empire you are currently at war with, as supplying this fleet becomes so much more dangerous and space insurance coverage is no joke. So going on the offensive will require you to have either a good trade income or a large surplus of trade value already stored up. Don't forget, trade is now a regular resource, so you will be able to accumulate it like any other resource. In future, logistical upkeep could potentially be used to counteract doom stacking, for example by scaling upkeep with the number of ships in a fleet, dividing by the number of fleets per system, etc. The developers have no concrete solution yet, and everyone's thoughts are welcome. So if you've got some, head over to the Paradox forum and jot them down there, or write them in the comments section below. With these new sources of trade upkeep, it is of course important to mention that devs will also introduce a new trade deficit. Like Unity, this will not create a deficit situation, but a country modifier that persists until the deficit is dealt with. Running a trade deficit will reduce advanced resource production, that is, alloys, consumer goods, Unity, and research, some of the most important resources in the game, and on top of that, all ships' weapons damage. So, you really do not want to go on the offensive, be attacking another empire, unless you have a solid trade income, or you know the war will be over once you've burnt through the trade you already have stored up. From a thematic point of view, I think this is a fantastic change. Having a logistic style system which is in the game without making it too complex, I think is cool. On the other hand, I think a lot of players might not like the fact that they now have to have trade value regardless of what empire type they have in order to fight another empire. That is going to be very painful for certain play types and certain play styles, and I think for some people it's going to require a relearning of the game systems. And if you're enjoying this video, please optimize the logistics of that like button. Let's now look at stockpiling trade and using trade in the marketplace. The developer's intent is for trade policies to continue to exist going forwards. Currently, they expect to have about half of your net trade income after paying logistical upkeep converted to other resources using your trade policy. This now means then, let's say you've got 100 trade value on a planet, about half of that will be converted into either energy credits, so 50 energy credits, or energy credits and Unity, so that would be 25 energy credits and 12.5 Unity, or consumer goods, etc, etc. And then the other half will be going into a trade surplus pool, which is basically your resource storage. On top of that, if you have any overflow of your storage, it sounds then like all of your excess trade will be converted into other resources using your trade policy. Some of the current trade policies might be tweaked a bit, but the rest will go into your resource stockpile as an advanced resource, so you will store it and own it. In addition to that, the galactic market has now been adjusted so that the primary trading resource is no longer energy, it is now trade. As such, energy is available on the market as a standard resource like minerals or food to be bought and sold. The energy storage cap has been brought down to the same levels as minerals and food, while trade storage cap has been set to 50,000 at the base level, which was what we had energy on previously. As the developers are in the middle of the implementation, they are adjusting this as they receive internal feedback and will continue to do so when it is time for the open beta to be released. They are keeping a close eye on the value of trade as a resource. If necessary, they'll keep turning the dials to ensure it is actually an interesting resource to focus on and use. For modders, the main market resource is set as a define and can be switched to something else now if they want to keep it as it was. Overall, I think this is going to have a massive impact on early game trade Unity strategies because you're going to get quite a lot less trade converted into Unity until you completely fill up your trade storage. Also, as you increase your resource storage cap, then again, you're going to be having issues converting that trade into basic resources or Unity or consumer goods or whatever it is you're getting from your trade policy until you get up to that top level. So I kind of read this as a nerf for trade-based empires, especially the Trade League and the Unity trade production policy. Of course, if all empires need trade in order to maintain their fleets and cover these resource deficits, then all empires must be able to produce trade. Rejoice, friends of bugs and bolts, for you too will be able to enjoy the benefits of starting trade with 4.0. As part of the Phoenix update, Gestalt empires will be able to collect trade just like normal empires from both jobs and deposits. In contrast to normal empires, Gestalt empires will rarely do so with traders and clerks. Instead, their most basic drone, the maintenance drone for example, will create trade in addition to their normal resources and modifiers. In addition, they will also have access to trade policies to enrich their common wallets. So, getting trade policies is a big boost for Gestalt empires. However, needing to have maintenance drones in order to get that trade is a massive debuff. At present, most Gestalt empires can, for at least the majority of the early and mid game, get away with either no maintenance drones on their planets or very few maintenance drones as they can get amenities from other sources. Maintenance drones are highly inefficient. Forcing them to have these drones, I think overall should bring Gestalt empires down a bit because they are currently much more powerful than normal empires, and hopefully bring them more in line with regular play styles. Of course, these benefits come with some drawbacks on top of what I've just mentioned. Gestalt empires will also deal with logistical upkeep for local planetary deficits and fleets that are not docked or within hostile territory. The galactic market will of course also accept Gestalt trade as its main resource. In future, the devs are considering megacorp Gestalt empires for your corporate drone needs, but whether they will have time to do that with 4.0 or later remains to be seen. From a thematic point of view, I think it's terrifyingly hilarious that you're now going to be able to create megacorp empires with a hive mind. So, for example, that means we could have, the Paperclip Empire really implemented as a megacorp in the game. Updating the trade system is not all the developers have done here though. They've also updated branch offices. For branch offices, they have a plethora of improvements ready for our enjoyment, courtesy of the ever-industrious Mr. Cosmogon. Branch office buildings are now all limited to just one per planet, and now give more appropriate jobs to the host planet. They also increase local trade production based on those jobs, and their corporate resource output is in turn increased by local trade. Most corporate civics now also give bonuses to just one specific branch office building, so picking your corporate civics will have a direct impact on the branch offices you have in the game, increasing their trade value bonus and receiving merchant jobs on their capital from it. Numerous changes have been made to criminal syndicates as well, and this is going to be very, very spicy. Criminal empires can now establish commercial pacts. What do they do though? Having a commercial pact with a criminal empire will replace all criminal buildings with their lawful counterpart. As long as the commercial pact remains, criminal branch offices will not be removed from the planet. But of course, they won't be generating any crime because they are now the lawful version of the branch office, not the criminal version. All criminal branch office buildings have had their crime value set to 25, and they give one criminal job alongside a regular job. They have also added a crime floor to non-criminal branch office buildings on empires that have a trade agreement with the criminal syndicate. This means there will always be a minimum amount of crime on the branch office planet, even if you sign a trade deal. Criminal branch offices are also up to 25% more profitable on high crime planets. So, as a criminal, this now means you can create trade agreements, commercial pacts I should say, with other empires, legitimizing your presence on a planet and preventing them from shutting you down. But if you are the receiving empire of that criminal branch office, yes, you get rid of most of the crime, but there will always now be a minimum undercurrent of criminality on the planet forever because of the criminal syndicate, whether or not you declare their crime legal. This, from a roleplay impact, is very fun, and from a gameplay impact, gives more options and no longer means the instinctive and immediate response to a criminal syndicate opening a branch office on your planet is all-out galactic warfare and possible genocide. So, I'm overall kind of in favor of this. Balance-wise, these buildings are all more impactful. Branch office buildings now cost influence, and branch offices now take up 5 empire size instead of 2. This should have quite a dramatic impact on the empire size of megacorps. They already get a big debuff to more empire size from planets. Now they're getting basically 150% extra empire size from every branch office. And in a lot of games, you'll want anywhere from 10, 20, 30 branch offices to even more. That is, 50, 100, 150 empire size additionally from those kinds of things. Oh, and on top of that, the devs have also allowed megacorps to open branch offices on other megacorp planets. This is a massive impact. From gameplay perspective, this no longer blocks you if you're trying to play megacorp and you're surrounded by lots of other megacorp empires or Gestalt empires. I'm suspecting that because of the changes to trade value that Gestalts have, megacorps can now also open branch offices on Gestalt empires. The devs haven't specifically said this, but I would suspect that's going to be possible given that, as we've just mentioned, Gestalt empires now have trade. So as a megacorp, it sounds like you will now probably be able to open branch offices on any type of neighbor outside of, determined exterminators and fanatic purifiers. That is a great quality of life improvement that is going to help so many players enjoy Megacorp just that bit more. Because there is nothing worse than starting a Megacorp run and your only neighbors are either other Megacorp empires or Gestalt empires, so you literally cannot use one of your fundamental basic powers, opening branch offices. Next, the content design lead, CG Inglis, is here to tell us about new mammalian portraits. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, everyone is now getting, no matter of DLC, 10 brand new mammal portraits added into their base game. This is so nice. Honestly, I can't believe they've done this. This is not going to be paid content. This is just free added content for everybody, which is basically at the size of one of the old species packs, minus the ships, of course. We're getting a brand new portrait set, in essence, of 10 portraits. I have to say, I'm really impressed that they're simply adding this into the base game, though, and honestly kind of blown away. This is really cool. I'm liking the look of quite a few of these new portraits. They are definitely something I'm going to be playing with in some of my games going forward. If you've enjoyed this video about the changes coming with Stellaris 4.0, but you'd like to know more, you might want to hear all about the brand new origin the devs are introducing into the game with this latest release. To find out more about Hard Reset, click the video on screen now.